Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. We are in the municipality of the County of Kings council chambers. It's Planning Advisory Committee. I'm your chair, Councillor Emily Lutz. And we'll begin this morning with a couple introductions before taking roll call. We have a new planner joining the municipality, Melissa Chunik, welcome. And Leslie Malley, who is now the new administrative assistant for the planning department and will be doing the meeting today. We're happy to have you both join us. So we'll start by taking roll call. So if you could please indicate your presence on the electronic pin pad, that would be greatly appreciated. I think we have a full house, but we do. Okay. And we know the voting system is working. Wonderful. At this point, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda. Can I have a motion? Moved by Councillor Gates, seconded by Deputy Mayor Peckford. Any discussion on the agenda as circulated? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate in the usual fashion. The motion is carried unanimously and the agenda is approved. Thank you. At this point, we're on item 5. Is there any disclosure of conflict of interest issues that anyone wishes to disclose at this time? No? I see no lights. I see no hands. So we'll move to item 6, approval of minutes. Our last Planning Advisory Committee was July 18th, 2025. The minutes are in your agenda package. Is there any errors or omissions from those minutes? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Kate, seconded by Logan. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. Thank you. The motion carries unanimously and the minutes are approved. Any business arising from the July meeting minutes? Any burning issues? Nothing. Okay. We'll move to item 8 then, which is our regular business. We have 3 items of regular business before us today. The first is an application to amend the text of a land use bylaw to clarify regulations related to an accessory commercial patio at 1104 Carr Street, PID 550-22297 in Port Williams. And we have Ms. Alice Jacobs presenting to us this afternoon. Your microphone is on and the floor is yours, Alice.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. So this application is to amend the text of the land use bylaw to clarify regulations related to accessory commercial patio areas. The property that prompted this amendment is located at 1116 Carr Street, Port Williams. The property currently has a building, and the building includes a brewery and a restaurant and a retail area within. The property has frontage on Cornwallis River, so the land use bylaw requires structures to maintain specific distances from watercourses. In this case, the structures on this property are subject to a 30-foot separation distance from the river. The main building here meets this requirement, but the building also has a patio area at the rear. The patio area does not meet this requirement. This is because the land use bylaw does not clearly specify if this requirement applies to patio areas, and because of which the patio area is currently considered non-compatible with the land use bylaw. Also, the land use bylaw lacks clarity on accessory patio areas and the requirements for that area. So it doesn't mention whether the patio areas are subject to the requirements of the main building or whether it's subject to the requirements of an accessory building. And it also doesn't include a specific definition for an accessory commercial patio area. So this has led to confusion around regulating patio areas on commercial properties. So through this amendment, we are trying to clarify those regulations and to remove all the confusion around regulating the area. So this is a text amendment, so it doesn't apply to any specific site. It would apply to all sites all commercial properties that has a potential for a patio area. So in this case, it would apply to all zones that permit commercial uses like restaurants, agritainment uses, farm or vineyard sampling that could potentially have a patio area. A public information meeting was held for this application on the 21st of May, was scheduled for this application. There were no members of the public present, so we did not present the application at the meeting. And we did not receive any communication from the public about the application. With regard to enabling policy, Policy 5.3.2 enables Council to consider applications for text amendments, provided the amendment is consistent with the vision, goals, and objectives of the municipal planning strategy. So the relevant vision, goals, and the objectives of the MPS aims to promote growth within growth centers and to promote diverse business opportunities within growth centers. With regard to rural areas, the MPS intends to minimize development within rural areas. However, it also intends to support rural businesses and to provide a flexible regulatory environment for rural businesses. So this amendment is not expected to result in any significant changes within the growth centers or the rural areas. It does not intend to permit any additional uses. The only intent here is to clarify regulations with regard to the currently permitted uses. So clarifying these regulations would help support the existing and future businesses, which would be consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. And this is a summary of the amendments. So we are proposing an amendment to section 14.1, which is about the watercourse protection. This is to clarify that the watercourse separation distance requirement does not apply to the accessory commercial patio areas or the structures within the patio area. And we are also including a definition for the accessory commercial patio area. And there is also a new section for within the LUB for accessory commercial patio areas, which includes the requirements for the area, such as setbacks and the zones that it is permitted in and other requirements. So in terms of the process, we received this application around the end of April, scheduled a public information meeting for the 21st of May, and staff reviewed this application and prepared a report which was included within the agenda package. If Planning Advisory Committee makes a positive recommendation, Council will give the application a first reading, following which Council may schedule a public hearing for the application. And after the public hearing, the application will go back to Council for a second reading where a final decision will be made, following which the application enters a 14-day appeal period. So staff are of the opinion that the proposal meets the intent of the municipal planning strategy, and we are recommending a positive recommendation to the Planning Advisory Committee. With that, I conclude my presentation and pass it back to Chair.
Thank you very much, Alice. Pretty straightforward presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions at this moment in time for Alice regarding the changes to the land use bylaw? Councillor McPherson, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I know the area and the waterway that we're referring to, and there are very high tides. It empties out and fills up. And I'm just wondering around potential liability. If you're taking away that 30-foot buffer, I'm wondering the impact on safety, if there is a safety issue here or not. And if there is, who carries the liability if someone all of a sudden ends up in that river, which moves very, very quickly with the tides? And I understand clearly the intent of trying to get consistency. But in particular in that location, I'm just wondering about safety. Thank you.
Alice? Trish? Laura? Trish looks like she wanted to answer. Okay. She doesn't look like she
Sure.
wants to answer, but she looks like she will answer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the liability issue is not something that the municipality or really PAC would or should be looking at. It still would remain, any liability is a property owner's responsibility. When you look at the amendments as proposed, it's just clarifying what we're already doing. So if, for example, if Alice was to put the aerial photo on of that area again, what you can see sort of a white area behind the building. So that area, we don't prohibit and never have prohibited landscaping activities within that. What this is really doing is clarifying, we're good with a restaurant serving people that are already sitting out there. So it's just clarifying what's the extent of that, and really allowing the development officer to have that clarity to say, yes, we are okay with that area that you've landscaped and you've got seating area for you to serve there. It's just taking that confusion away of an existing activity, if that's
Yeah,
helping. Okay.
Thank you. Follow-up. I think I'm understanding that the practice currently is that we do not enforce the current bylaw of 30 feet with regards to specific things like patios, and therefore we're just catching practice up with, our policy up with practice. Is that what I'm
I
understanding?
wouldn't quite have worded it that way. I would say that because when we talk about 30-foot separation distance, it's traditionally, and the way that the land use bylaw speaks to it, is talking about structures. A patio is not a structure. So it became very confusing. When is it now a structure? If I put a roof on that patio, I'm now a structure. Was our intent to say, well, now we have a problem? It's still open air. It's like, it just became very confusing for both parties. So this is just giving that
Okay,
clarity.
I get it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Mosier, you had your light on. You're good? Okay. Great. So yes, I think that wording is important. We do enforce our bylaws and we enforce the rules in most situations. Yeah. Yeah. And you're good, Counselor? Okay. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Ms. Jacob? All right. Welcome, Mayor Corkum, to our group. Happy to have you. At this point, look for a motion that reads, it was right up here. The Planning Advisory, so be it resolved that the Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing for the amendments to the text of the land use bylaw to clarify regulations related to accessory commercial patio areas as described in Appendix A of the report dated September 9th, 2025. Do I have a mover of the motion? Moved by Councilor Gates, seconded by Citizen Member Friars. Thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Any debate for or against? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. Good to go. And that's your only file with us, Alice. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. And next, we'll move to item 8B, an application to rezone the property at 2716 Highway 1, PID 55134746, Aylesford, from the central business C2 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone. And we have Planner Perry Bowman here. Welcome, Perry, to presenting at PAC. Oh, and here's your phone. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So item 1 from me today, we are here to discuss a land use bylaw map amendment application or rezoning, as our chair has just said, at 2716 Highway 1 in Aylesford. So we're looking to rezone the subject property from the central business C2 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone to permit the use of this existing building as a 4-unit dwelling. So this is located on the main street of Aylesford, but we'll get a bit further into the visuals on that in a moment. So this is a map of the County of Kings with the red circle indicating the approximate location of the subject site within the village of Aylesford. So here we have our aerial image, the subject site, which is outlined in red. I will note that the lines of the, I guess, lots are a little bit off in that they're a bit further south than they should be. And the subject building on the site is fully within the bounds of our subject site. But the site is approximately 20,500 square feet in area and is located on the southern side of Highway 1. It has approximately 150 feet of street frontage, and we have the existing building on the site, which was previously a Chinese restaurant and contained 2 residential units in the basement level. The building is located approximately 8 feet from the northern boundary and 4 feet from its western boundary. The property to the east of the subject site, here is a residential dwelling. The property to the west, it is a building which has previously contained 2 residential units and has also previously been used for commercial and residential purposes. Further to the north, we have a range of residential properties, and then further to the west, we have the Needs Convenience. Over here, we have Chisholm Pharmacy and the Canada Post site here. So this is our zoning map for the current zones. So the subject site and the properties to the east and west are located in the central business C2 zone. The land to the north is in the mixed commercial residential C3 zone. The land to the south in this bluey colour is in the environmental constraints O1 zone. The rear portion of the property is also covered by the environmentally sensitive area overlay. Our mapping identifies that as being partially due to slope and partially due to potential for flooding. So this is our future land use designation map. So the subject site, land to the east, west and north is in the commercial designation. Land to the south is in the residential designation. So as we know, the municipal planning strategy identifies I guess the general intent based on its designation, but also dictates what changes can be made if changes are proposed based on that designation. So the municipal planning strategy does not prohibit this change if all policy components are met. So this is a hypothetical resolution map to show what the zoning in the area would look like if this application is approved as it currently stands, with the C3 mixed commercial residential zone extending down to the subject site. So here we have some images of the site, obviously taken a little earlier in the year when we had snow. So this is looking at the front of the site. We have the existing building and then the existing, I guess, parking lot, which would have been used by the Chinese restaurant. This is looking at the western side of the building, so we can see that there is a differentiation in the land level from main street level to the rear of the subject site. Again, so this is standing in the rear of the parking lot, and we can see that there is a slope down to the rear of the subject site. And then this is at that rear level, lower level, where we can see the access to the 2 basement units which were previously being used. So, in terms of public consultation, 30 property owners within 500 feet of the subject site were notified by letter mail. A public information meeting was not required for this application as the subject site is less than an acre in area. 2 phone calls were received following the letters going out to the public in regards to the application. One was just asking general questions about the proposal. The second did ask some questions and raise concern regarding loss of commercial space within the centre of Aylesford. But I guess through that phone call, I did go through with them the proposal and how the zoning would work in respect to not preventing commercial uses from being used or undertaken on the land, just expanding the range of residential uses that would be permitted through this rezoning. So the application was also presented to the Aylesford Village Commission on the 18th of August. The Village Commission had a general discussion surrounding what land uses would be permitted on the land if rezoned, and they also discussed the loss of commercial space within the centre of Aylesford, but ultimately voted in support of the application. So in terms of the enabling policy, that comes from Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.4. It's a little bit different to our standard enabling policy in that in this case we are looking at Council considering an amendment to any one of the zoning maps only if the site meets all of the zoning requirements for the zone sought, with the exception of lots with a building which has less than the required setbacks. So in this case, under the current zoning, the C2 zone, or the central business zone, permits 0 foot setbacks. So it allows a building to be built up to the front and side boundary lines. I will note that this building was constructed before this zoning was in place. It just happens to meet the requirements of the current zone, but the C3 or mixed commercial residential zone, it does require a front setback of 20 feet and a side setback of 10 feet. The current existing building does not meet those setbacks, which is why we are considering it through this enabling policy. So it meets all other zone requirements of the proposed zone, just not the front and side setbacks. But this policy enables us to consider this rezoning. Further to that, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5 sets out the criteria to be met when considering an application to rezone land. These criteria relate to the zone placement policy, the impact of the proposed use and other permitted uses in the proposed zone, and an assessment of the general criteria. So in summary, the criteria are met as the zone placement is ideal, as it would acknowledge the existing residential nature of the subject site and many of the surrounding properties, and the rezoning of the subject site to a lower intensity zone would mean that less impact on existing residential uses would occur and would still maintain provision for commercial uses in the long term. So I guess just to jump a bit further into that, this is a map of the area, and we're looking at land uses in this map. So we do have the underlying zoning on the land, but we do also have outlines. So the yellow outlines on properties indicate properties that are used for residential purposes. The red outlines indicate a mix of commercial and residential uses, and then the blue is the subject site. So as we can see that even though we are in, I guess, the commercial centre of Aylesford, we are surrounded by predominantly residential uses, bar that main, I guess, intersection of Victoria Street and Victoria Road and Highway 1. So the zone placement policy for the mixed commercial residential zone states that lands located in this zone are intended to complement the established commercial areas and can be located in areas where flexibility between residential and commercial uses is desired. So as the map shows, there is already a high level of residential uses in the directly surrounding area, so flexibility is desired on this property to provide opportunity for commercial uses in the future, but also acknowledge that lower impact commercial uses and residential uses will conflict less with the existing residential neighbourhood. And then looking at our general criteria, so Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.7 states that the general criteria to be considered when amending the land use bylaw consider a range of different uses, different criteria. So the assessment criteria included sending this application to a range of bodies with jurisdiction, including the Aylesford Fire Chief, the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, our Municipal Department of Engineering and Public Works, and our Municipal Manager of Engineering and Inspections and Enforcement. Through all of those bodies, no concerns were raised with the application, and through staff's assessment of the application, the proposal is considered to meet the intent of the MPS and does not involve any direct costs to the municipality or the village of Aylesford. So, we received the completed application on the 9th of January 2025. No public information meeting was required and staff undertook a review. And we presented the application to the Aylesford Village Commission prior to today. And we're now here at the Planning Advisory Committee. Following your recommendation today, the application will be proceeding through to Municipal Council, where they will vote on whether to authorise a public hearing. If a public hearing occurs, properties within 500 feet will be notified again, and then we will proceed through to second reading, where Municipal Council will vote and make a decision, and following that there is the 14-day appeal period. So, based on the assessment, staff consider this application to meet the intents and purposes of all of the policy, and we are making a positive recommendation, which is the Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 2716 Highway 1, PID 55134746, Aylesford, from the Central Business Zone to the Mixed Commercial Residential Zone as described in Appendix C of the report dated September 9th, 2025. And I will pass it back to the Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Great to see existing buildings being used to their full potential, so very exciting. Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions regarding this application? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Can you confirm if the property is municipal serviced or is it on well and septic?
Through you, Madam Chair. It is on well and septic.
Okay. Any follow-up, Councillor? You're good? Okay. Any other questions from Planning Advisory Committee this afternoon? Okay, see no lights. Could I have well, I'll read the motion. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 2716 Highway 1, PID 55134746, Aylesford, from the Central Business C2 zone to the Mixed Commercial Residential C3 zone as described in Appendix C of the report dated September 9th, 2025. Do we have a mover of the motion? Citizen Member Morse. Thank you. Councillor McPherson seconds it. Any discussion or debate? Okay, no discussion on the motion. All those in favor or otherwise, please signify in the usual fashion. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Planning Advisory Committee. And item C, which again is Perry, so we'll stick with you and go ahead for item C, another application to rezone a property in a commercial district.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Technology. Okay, brilliant. So fairly similar but different context to the previous application. So we're looking to do a land use bylaw map amendment or rezoning to 8877 Commercial Street in New Minas. So once again, we have an existing building, but we are looking to rezone the subject property from the general commercial C1 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone to permit the use of the existing building as a 2-unit dwelling. So this is the map of the County of Kings with the red circle indicating the approximate location of the subject site within the village of New Minas. So this is the aerial image of the subject site. I do apologise, it's a little bit blurry, but we can still kind of get the general gist of where the outlines of buildings are. So the site is obviously outlined in red and has an area of approximately 6,673 square feet and is located on the northern side of Commercial Street. It has approximately 58 feet of street frontage. The site is currently being used as a 2-unit dwelling, which is not in line with the zoning of the land, which is why this application has been applied for. So previously the first floor and basement level were used as a commercial use. There's been a number over the years, but including florists and such. And the upper floor was used as a residential unit. More recently, the commercial tenancy on the ground floor has vacated, and there is now a second residential unit on that first and basement floor combined into one. So in terms of the neighbouring properties, the site is surrounded on 3 sides by the 2 neighbouring properties in that they kind of surround the site around its rear. The properties to the west are generally, or further to the west are generally commercial, but directly to the west we have a building that is used for mixed commercial and residential purposes. The land to the east contains 2 commercial uses. But this building on the subject site to the east was originally constructed as a dwelling. Directly across the road, we have what used to be the swimwear hut, I believe, but again, originally constructed as a dwelling, although the swimwear hut, I believe, is no longer in use either. But again, within proximity to the site, we have a mix of residential and commercial uses. So this is the zoning map. The subject site and all of the surrounds, indirect surrounds, are in the general commercial C1 zone. Again, we have a completely commercial designation map here. So as stated before, the designation identifies what the general intended use of the land is, but also identifies, if changes are proposed, what those changes can be. So the commercial designation permits all commercial zones, meaning that we can consider this proposal, and it's not prohibited as long as all other policy components are met. So this is a hypothetical resolution map showing what the zoning would look like if this application is approved in its current form. So we just have the central site as the C3 with the remainder or surrounding zones left as the commercial or general commercial C1 zone. So this is the existing building. As we can see, we have the 2 front entry doors. This door leads up to this second floor unit. I do apologise if I get these mixed up. In Australia, ground floor is the first floor, so I apologise if I'm muddling them up. And then this door here leads to this first floor / basement unit. Again, we have the subject building, and then we have the neighbouring building to the west, which is a mixed commercial residential unit or building with Exit Realty in there. This is the rear of the subject site and subject building. This is the property to the east, which has the 2 commercial tenancies here. This is directly across the road, or across Commercial Street, and this is the once constructed dwelling which was used for commercial tenancy for the swimwear hut. And then this is looking further east, where we have a range of residential uses as well. So, in terms of public consultation, 29 property owners within 500 feet of the subject site were notified by letter mail. Again, because the subject site is less than an acre in area, a public information meeting was not required. 1 phone call was received from a neighbour following the letters going out. That phone call was in regards to concern about noise, in that they have a business where they turn their equipment on at 7 a.m. and so we're worried that they may get complaints based on residential uses in the area. So we did have a conversation regarding that there is a different, I guess, amenity expectation in commercial zones in regards to noise, in that the primary intent of the neighbouring zone is to allow commercial uses which do have noise associated with them. So the application was also presented to the New Minas Village Commission in July. There were several clarifying questions asked during that meeting, but generally the comments were positive in nature. So in terms of enabling policy, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.3 enables Council to consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development, which in this case, they're not developing, but they're using the land for 2 residential units, and and is to rezone the land to another zone enabled within the same designation. So as we saw before, the subject property is located within the commercial designation, and the commercial designation permits the C3 mixed commercial residential zone. So further to this, the Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5 sets out the criteria to be met when considering an application to rezone land. So these criteria relate to the zone placement policy, the impact of the proposed use and other permitted uses in the proposed zone, and an assessment of the proposal against the general criteria. So once again, the zone placement is ideal as it would acknowledge the existing residential nature of the subject site and many of the surrounding properties, and the rezoning of the subject site to a lower intensity zone would mean less impact on existing residential uses while still maintaining commercial provisions in the long term. So this is the area of New Minas where the subject site is located. To the bottom here, we have all residential in the R2 zone. Predominantly along Commercial Street, we just have one layer of commercial zoning directly to the south. To the north, we have more of, I guess, a layer of commercial zoning, and then we have the light industrial commercial zone fully to the north. So this particular area of New Minas is quite unique in that it has quite a number of dwellings that were constructed prior to the introduction of the land use bylaw. So we have a lot of non-conforming residential uses in this area. And then we also have a number of mixed commercial residential uses that are permitted through the current C1 or general commercial zoning. So as a result of that, I guess due to the fact that the subject site is in close proximity to so many residential uses or mixed commercial residential uses, flexibility between the commercial and residential zone already exists. And having or rezoning to the mixed commercial residential zone would ensure that land could be used for lower impact commercial uses in the future, which would have less of an impact on the existing non-conforming residential uses, while still allowing for commercial use in the future. And then further to that, or the last point we needed to consider from the previous policy related to the general criteria. So through the assessment of these criteria, the application was sent to the New Minas Fire Chief, the New Minas Department of Public Works, the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, and our Municipal Manager of Inspections and Enforcement. None of these departments or bodies of jurisdiction raised any concern with the application, and through staff's assessment, it is considered that the proposal meets the intent of the MPS and doesn't involve any direct costs to the municipality or the village of New Minas. So to run quickly through this, we received the application on April 2nd, and public information meeting was not required. Staff review was undertaken, including presenting the application to the New Minas Village Commission. We are here today at the Planning Advisory Committee. Following your recommendation today, we will proceed through to first reading with the full Municipal Council, who will vote on whether to authorise a public hearing. If public hearing is authorised, properties within 500 feet will be notified once again. And then following public hearing, there is second reading where full Municipal Council will vote and make a decision on the application. And following that decision, there is a 14-day appeal period. So, based on the assessment staff have undertaken, we are recommending that Planning Advisory Committee recommends a positive recommendation to full Municipal Council. And from that note, I will pass it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Perry. Great. So we have our presentation. Any questions of clarification at this time for Perry? Another pretty straightforward one. Okay. No questions. Then at this time, I'll read the motion. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 8877 Commercial Street, PID 55209993, New Minas, from the General Commercial C1 Zone to the Mixed Commercial Residential C3 Zone, as described in Appendix C of the report dated September 9th, 2025. Do we have a mover of this motion? Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, seconded by Citizen Member Friars. Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this motion? I see no lights. I'll call the question. All in favor or otherwise, please vote in the usual fashion. And that pretty well concludes our business. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Planning Advisory Committee. Item 9, other business. Is there any other business to come before Planning Advisory Committee today? Councillor Gates, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Just for reference to our planning department, I believe the previous application is in the municipal water and sewer serviced area for Aylesford. So I'm wondering if that's something that they are not connected at the moment, or if they should be connected just for future reference. Thank you.
Both Trish and Laura put their lights on
Oh,
and
sorry,
turned them
just
off.
sewer.
So I'm going to go to Laura this time. Did you have...
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Gates. It is in the sewer serviced area. It's not in the water sewer serviced area of Aylesford. Only, I think, like 4 houses and an old age home are connected to the water service. But it is within the sewer serviced area, but they may not be connected. The building may predate the sewer, and so they may have opted to stick with the existing septic system at the time, but I'm sure all that will get sorted out at permitting.
Okay.
I do apologize on that note. I got that wrong. They are connected to the sewer, not the water. I do apologize for that.
Okay, there we go. Clarification. Thank you. Any other business to come before the meeting? Good job, Leslie. That's my only item of business. Any comments from the public? We have no public with us today. So our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 14th, 2025 at 1 p.m. And at this time, I'd take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, seconded by Councillor Gates. All in favor, please, or otherwise, please indicate in the usual fashion. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Mayor, and to our new planner, welcome again. And thank you both for your presentations. And thank you everyone on PAC for your contributions today. It's greatly appreciated as always. Have a great day, everybody.